My name is Ed Balaban. I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1952. I was commissioned in the Navy in 1982, remained active until 1993, and in the reserves until 1996. Had a 9-year break in service, and then found my way back in via the Army National Guard in 2005 and retired in 2013.
So tell me about growing up in Brooklyn in the 50s, 60s.
You know, it really was, as I look back on it now, a good time. The basic American nuclear family, mom, dad, my younger brother. My grandparents lived downstairs. I had aunts, uncles, and cousins with a 1-block walk. Tons of friends. Life was a lot simpler then than it is now.
What was the Jewish community like in your neck of the woods? Where were you in Brooklyn?
My section of East New York was predominantly Jewish. And then in the early 60s or so, the neighborhood started to transition.
Mm-hmm.
And back then it was an action called blockbusting, where somebody would come in and offer a homeowner big bucks, and then a non-white family would move in. The East New York riots in the mid-'60s only took place a few blocks from the house. It was dangerous just to sit out on your front stoop.
It seems to, so what we call the call to adventure, it was something that you had from early on.
It was my dad who said to me, I was about 5 years old. He said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "Daddy, I want to be a Marine like you." And he shook his head. He says, "No, you're a lot smarter than that." He says, "There's no shame in serving your country." He says, "But if you want to do it in the Navy. And if you want to do it right, do it as a naval officer." And that just stuck with me.
That intention of want to go military and want to go Navy, that kind of grew up with that one. But was there any time where you didn't want to? Was there any time where you kind of thought, I don't want to do that really?
No, not that I could consciously recall.
Okay. So let's talk about not getting in at 16, because that's a similar type of experience. You wanted to go, but couldn't go. So let's talk about that.
That was crushing. I remember having my first eye exam, and, I'm getting fitted for glasses. And I cried for a couple of nights straight, because I knew then, wearing glasses and what the medical and physical requirements were to get into the academy back then, I knew I'd never get accepted. But I ultimately got the letter saying, you're not physically qualified because I didn't have 20/20. Now, fast forward, my younger son was wearing glasses. My younger son is about 2 years away from being in zone for lieutenant colonel as an Air Force pilot, active duty.
So at 16, you were crushed because you realized you're not going to get in. But you didn't give up.
No.
So
no.
So there was that call to adventure. You still wanted to be there, but you've been rejected. How did you find your way in that time period? How did you navigate that crushing period?
In a way, it all kind of came together, because back in the late 60s, pretty much anybody that was accepted to any of the academies had a major in engineering. My high school was focused on science, math, technology, engineering. So I was in that engineering track, if you will. And I tried to get into an engineering program. So as it turned out, of all the schools that I applied to, and it was about 5 of them, the only one that I got into was my safe school. And it was a program through the City University of New York, where you would spend 3 years at one college taking care of your liberal arts requirements, and then transfer to City College of New York and finish up your engineering degree. It was called a 3-2 program. Well, after my first semester, here I am struggling to get a D in a 5-credit physics course. And I said, this just isn't working. I have to transfer out. And as a backup, I looked at the state university system, and I decided I wanted to use basic engineering principles, but get my hands dirty. And I discovered Oswego, New York, SUNY Oswego, and I wound up transferring in. About a week before classes start, I call them up. This is a long distance phone call back then. And I said, I got this letter saying I'm coming up, but I haven't heard from you. What's going on? I have no room assignment. I have no class assignments. All I know is to show up. And they told me, show up, come into the administration building. We'll get you a room and we'll get you classes and everything will be fine. And I got a teaching job right after that, back home on Long Island, as an industrial arts teacher.
Good for you. So that none of that was military. It came close, but none of that was military.
Not one stitch.
So during that time,
Mhm.
8-year period from high school graduation, what happened to your dream of Navy?
I had to put it on a back burner at best. And interestingly, and I had gone down and I had taken another exam. And honestly, after 5 years in the classroom, I was burned out. I was tenured, everything was fine, but I knew that I was destined for bigger and better things.